Hello, welcome back to my channel. If you don't know me, my name is Tia and I am at the University of St Andrews studying biochemistry. Check out this video if you want to know a little bit more about me. So today's video is on what is biochemistry? What's it like to study it at a university? What might you need to study it? And basically what I'm doing with my life for the past 2 years and the following 2 years. So, what is biochemistry? So apparently the internet defines it as the branch of science concerned with the chemical and physiochemical processes and substances that occur within living organisms. So that mouthful basically means it is studying the minute reactions and chemical details that occur within our bodies and within living organisms. So, would you need to study biochemistry? You need biology, chemistry and maths. Why those three? Because one, biochemistry is a subsection of biology called red biology. So you have red and green biology. Green biology is usually about physiology, generally looking at animals, plants, maybe marine animals, that kind of stuff, evolution, ecology, whereas red biology is looking right in the detail of your cells, going down right to the molecular level. So that's why you need biology. You need chemistry because there are so many chemical reactions which is really difficult to understand without having a background in chemistry, such as A-level chemistry. And you need maths because maths comes into pretty much all science careers, no matter what they are. It might just be a little bit of maths, but you do still need to brush up on your maths skills, so it's best to have some sort of background in maths, be that even just an AS level in maths. That's probably the minimum requirement for most universities. So what does a general timetable look like at uni for studying biochemistry? So when you go to school, you'll usually have lessons 9 to 5, learning facts, learning knowledge, and maybe you've got some kind of practical in there, maybe looking at wood lice or something really boring like that. That's not uni. Uni is so much better. So normally you'll have lectures, labs, workshops and tutorials. Lectures can be between 45 minutes to an hour, and they are basically some professor or someone who's doing a career in the topic that they're talking about, talking at you for that length of time whilst you make notes on the subject and then you go away. So it's not very interactive at all. Sometimes you can ask questions, but usually you'll get introduced to a topic and you'll have to go over it a couple of times before you get it. It's usual when you're in a lecture to look at the screen like, this is so daunting. What am I doing with my life? But normally after the second or third time you read it through, it's gone in. It's a very different way from learning at school, because at school you're normally taught about the same thing in 3 lessons, whereas in lectures you're taught about it just once and you'll have to go away and re-look at your stuff. So that's something that I don't think anybody gets to grips with until the end of first year. So my favourite bit of university, labs. I love labs so much. Some people don't like labs, I don't know why. I love labs. So labs are basically like practicals that you would do in school. Could be like Benedict's solution, when if there's glucose I think it goes red, I can't quite remember. Just those kind of things where you get to put on the lab coats in chemistry, do titrations. Imagine doing that for, I don't know, from 3 hours to maybe a whole day. So you get to make things, you get to look at different properties of things, look at so many things under the microscope. It's really cool. I really enjoy labs. A lot of it is pipetting, which most people don't meet until uni. So this is a pipette. This beautiful pipette, this P1000 as it is called, dispenses really small amount of liquids. So liquids are often very expensive to work with, and in the case of looking at small molecules such as protein, it's really hard to get enough of it to make an accurate amount with a measuring cylinder. So you know those like pipettes, the plastic ones that you squeeze and you just get up an unknown amount to put it in something. Imagine having a way to do that but accurately. So you get to learn to use one of those. Pretty cool. I love my pipettes, they're great. Labs are often different depending on different universities and everything. I know some universities just have afternoon labs, so they'll be about 3 hours long or 3 to 6 hours long in the afternoon, which kind of baffles me that some universities have it 6 hours in the afternoon, so like you could go home at 7. I'm there thinking, why would you organise it like that? So I love the way that St Andrews have done it, which is in your first 2 years your labs are just afternoon labs. So your experiments usually aren't very long, and they will usually be tailored so that you can maybe complete your experiment halfway through one of the sessions and then come back in the next session and finish your experiment. In chemistry, we had 2 labs a week in second year. You would do 6 experiments overall, and you had to complete those 6 experiments using the 2 labs every week. Whereas in biology, when you get to third year, you have all-day labs, which are pretty cool. So workshops different unis will do it differently. Usually workshops are more theory and maths based. You go through problems and you can ask for help from the teachers. I had a lot of workshops when I was learning about spectroscopy. So if you do chemistry, you will learn a technique that's used called NMR, and you have to be able to look at an NMR reading and know what it means. So we go through workshops to help that. Other workshops we had are maths workshops, computer workshops that help you with programming languages, and finally tutorials. I think most universities at least have some tutorials. Biology at St Andrews don't have tutorials that are marked, whereas some subjects such as chemistry, they mark their tutorials, and usually they just go through problems. They might give you some problems to go home with and you come back and have the answers, and then they go through them, and they really just provide a way for you to be in contact with somebody or a professor in the university. So for biology tutorials, we are in groups of 5 to 6. Second and third years are mixed together, and we will talk through how to look at different experiments, look at different practical aspects and relate it to theory. We also look at presentations, CVs, so also very adaptable life skills, which is really important. So what do you actually learn as a biochemist? What are we learning about? What's the point in us going to university and doing this degree? What do we learn? So I'm just going to take St Andrews as an example because that's the only university I've been to, guys. I've not been anywhere else. So the St Andrews Bachelor of Science degree lasts 4 years because in Scotland they do an extra year. This is purely due to the fact that at Scottish universities there's not normally mainly Scottish students, which is quite surprising. But it's because, as I learnt, Scotland is only 8% of the UK, which is mad. So they often have very many international students and rest of the UK students. So lots of different courses are taken and they want to get everyone at the same base level. So they do a year where they mainly cover the basics that you studied in your final year of school. And then they add on stuff you would normally study in a first year if you were going to the rest of UK. So in your first and second year, you will usually cover mostly the theory of a lot of different biological systems and the theory of organic chemistry as well. Examples of modules I did in my second year, which really was my first year, but we'll call it my second year because it's second year, is modules called Biochemistry, which looks at your metabolism, how you go from, say, eating a potato and get energy from it. So all the processes that break that down, right down to the literal energy part. So yeah, I did something called cell systems, which looks at how your cells communicate and how they all work together through different signalling, through muscle contraction, all the different types of muscles. I did a module called molecular biology, which looks at the instructions that code for making proteins in your cells, so your DNA. So it looks at the DNA and basically how you go from that to protein, which is pretty cool. I also did a research module, which was 100% coursework, which is pretty cool. But as you can see, they're more theoretical. They're very much giving you the basic knowledge that you need for when you go into the years that are going to actually count for your degree. So once you get into your third year at a Scottish uni, or your second year probably at a rest of UK uni, you start to learn not only the theory, but how you can apply experimental evidence to get theory, because it's extremely important that you learn how to do that, because in the future, what they aim for you to do in your final year is to be able to do an experiment and to then use it to link back to the theory so you can make an assumption from your experiment. So you need to be able to learn how those scientists in the past use their experiments to show the theory that's now put forward. So some examples of modules I've done in third year are protein structure and function. In that module, we looked at different methods of looking at proteins. They're really difficult to look at because they're so small. We also revised the different mathematical properties that enzymes have and 2 different mathematical methods to use, which was pretty interesting but quite difficult. We also looked at the ways that proteins fold and how that can affect their function, and then we were introduced to different diseases because of that. Other examples are something called bioenergetics, which was by far my most favourite module so far. Actually loved it so much. It's about how we produce energy on something called the electron transport chain in our mitochondria, and that whole module, basically half of it looks at respiration, the actual process of respiration itself on the chemical level, photosynthesis, and the functions of the mitochondria, and it was great fun. When you get to third year, you have all-day labs, which are pretty cool. So they're introduced to you during a week-long lab course in the week before Freshers' Week of your third year. So you have to come in a week early, and you basically spend a week in the lab and you write a lab book and you write an essay and you get a grade, and that's a module done, which is pretty cool. It was only a small module, but it's fun, and they introduced to you the idea that labs in real life are all-day things. They're 9-to-5 jobs, and it's really great. So then that carries on throughout the rest of your academic life, in the sense that most modules, I say most because I had one module that was different, they will do Thursdays or Fridays or both 9-to-5 labs, and your lectures are usually just Monday to Wednesday, which is different, but I think it's a great way of doing it because you get much more freedom that way, and also lectures can be really intense. It's often quite difficult to have lectures every day, Monday to Friday. I know some of my friends who are doing different subjects or in different years, they're often like, oh thank goodness I haven't got this lecture today, because there's such a lot of content in a lecture. It's really mentally quite difficult to have 5 lectures on one subject in a week. So I like the way that St Andrews have sorted this whole lab lecture problem by having lectures Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for your modules of that semester, and then Thursday and Friday are normally lab days, and it's great because you get to spend the whole day in the lab just chatting with your friends, doing experiments, get to have lunch breaks, get to have breaks whenever you want. Well, not whenever you want, you have to get your work done obviously, but by that time they trust you to be able to know when to come and go from the lab. So I love that about it. I think that's also why I like labs, because they're pretty chill. Also, you get to wear like jeans in the labs. This is a genuine example of one of my timetables. Lectures are in pink, practicals are in blue. As you can see, lectures for my 3 modules last semester ran Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday 9, 10 and 12, whilst practicals ran either on a Friday, because I chose it to be on a Friday because it would be less busy, or throughout the week 2 till 5. As you can see, I keep my schedule very packed, but I know some people who have managed to keep it much freer so they have more time to do stuff they want to do. So guys, that is the end of this video. If you have any questions about studying biochemistry at St Andrews and the University of St Andrews itself, please let me know in the comments. That would be great, and I shall see you next week at some point. Woohoo, bye guys!